Whoa, oh, oh. Da, 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 oh, oh.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another holiday project. I'm Reese, if you're new to this channel. So today we have a short and sweet tutorial on doing easy Christmas ornaments. We have only a few more projects to go before our very last one on Christmas Eve. So grab yourself a cup of tea or your favorite beverage, along with your favorite art supplies if you want to try this project, and come paint with me. Let's get started. So once again today we're using just plain 100% gouache, and I'll leave all the details down below, of course. I'm just using my Strathmore mixed media. Actually, this is leftovers from the Santa painting that I did last week. So I went to Michael's and I picked up 2 wooden ornaments. I was just looking for something to either paint directly onto or something I could attach an image to. So I found 2 wooden ornaments and I went ahead and I painted them white. And then I found one of my cups that actually matched the diameter of those wooden ornaments and copied those circles onto this paper. And I decided to do 2 ornaments since I had got them at a good deal. They're basically just 2 of the most simplest things you could probably paint for the holidays. One being holly, which is very standard and fairly easy to do, and the second being mistletoe. I decided for my mistletoe that I'd actually make my ribbon red, and for my holly I would make the ribbon blue. But if you choose to paint these, of course you can paint the ribbon any color you like. So I had thought for the ornament that has the red ribbon, I would attach a red ribbon, and for the one that had the blue, I would get a blue ribbon. Now I did not have blue ribbon, so I wasn't able to attach that, but I'm going to purchase some, and that's what I will be doing with that particular ornament. So going over how you draw a ribbon, you can look at a ribbon before you get started if you choose, just to understand how a ribbon basically looks in reality. Of course, we're just really doing an illustrative version of this, not a realistic version of it, but still those same principles are in play. We're wanting to add a little bit of shine, so I'm kind of defining where my higher points of light will be on the ribbon. And then of course where the ribbon is folded away and tucked under and away from light, it's a little darker. So things like that can be things that you consider. So my strategy in organizing these 2 paintings was to go ahead and utilize my mixture of greens and create a base layer on both of the different ornaments and their foliage. I did that so I could start working on other elements within the paintings. I thought that I could go ahead and work on other elements in the paintings while that foundation was drying. Then of course, as you saw, I started working on my ribbons as the base coats, even though it may look a little bit more finished at this point. And then I started going back and working on my berries, everything being base coats at this point, and then just starting to touch up those different berries, just creating some defined shapes and shadows and basic highlights that I'm going to want to do in them. And I painted the stems of both of the branches as well. And although you can't see them very well, I did try to utilize a little bit of variation in colors to create a shadow and a lighter side of the branches as well. It's a very small detail that you could only see up very, very close. So I wanted to talk to you briefly about the difference between illustration and realism, or a representational type of artwork that you normally see in classical styles. Typically when we look at illustration, it basically comes down to more of a defined edge, more of an enhanced colors versus realistic colors and more realistic edges that kind of blend one into another. Of course, theory of light and the extent the rule light is actually used on a form. Now sometimes, depending on the actual level of the illustration, sometimes like a cartoon, it's just basic strong lines and very enhanced colors or simplified colors to a very limited palette, while more of a classical painting will have a larger gamut of color. Another element of illustration, of course, is exaggeration of forms. But these are very traditional looking illustrations, just with using the strong outlines and with using strong colors. But the basic rules of painting are still in play, even in these simple illustrations. So as I'm continuing to build up my layers here, I'm going carefully around my berries, defining a more of a contrast between the light of the berry and the dark undertones of the leaf behind it. I'm also going and working on my final touches to enhance the ribbon. I'm using a partial outline at this point as well, and just adding my final touches, things like adding a vein to make the leaf have a central vein, and some of the variations on the lights and the shadows in the leaves independently. But you will notice that I will turn my canvas or my paper, my artwork, any way I need to get a good angle. Feel free and give yourself permission to do that as well as needed, so that you feel that you have a really good control over that brush, especially as you're making those final touches. And accuracy is so important at that point. So we've pretty much wrapped up the painting at this point. You can see we've got our final images. All we need to do now is move on to the next step of cutting them out. But of course I had to sign my name. So you can either use a pair of scissors like I did, or something more precise like an X-Acto knife on a cutting board. I think moving forward I would probably do that, because I did try to make my cut a little bit more seamless, but it still wasn't as perfectly round as I would have liked for it to have been. Now you could just go ahead and use a little bit of sandpaper to the edge if you don't have an X-Acto knife. So that's another option too, but of course, since I painted my ornament white and the paper was white, it really wasn't that big of an issue. Just make sure that you're very careful, whether you're using scissors of course, or if you're using an X-Acto knife. Okay guys, so I want to take this moment to just go ahead and ask you, if you've got some value out of today's video, just hit the like button for me and hit subscribe. That also helps this channel grow. And comment down below. Let me know what you think about today's project, if you might give it a try, or if you'd like me to do something else, whether it be holiday or not. And also, just so you know, I am providing a free downloadable version of these two images on my Patreon site. If you'd like to go over there and grab the image and then use some tracing paper or some graphite paper and transfer them yourself and give them a shot as your own project. So what I used to actually adhere my paper to my ornament was Mod Podge. I'm sure you could find some other glue stick, but my thought process in this was to not only to adhere it, but also create basically a glaze over the top of the ornament that's clear. So that's what I did. I just basically laid down a layer of the Mod Podge thinly underneath, and then I laid the ornament on top. And then once they were all completely dried and I had pressed them down, I went back over them with a top coat. Now at first the coat will look kind of milky like it does here, but this completely dries completely clear. I will say that you might want to make sure that you wait maybe 24 hours before you do this step, because I jumped into it a little bit quickly. I did see a small amount of lift occurring in my stem. Another thing you could do is turn your ornament over and then write a special message on the back and place the date and who it's to and who it's from and any special note that you really want to add. So I guess that wraps up today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the project and I hope you try it. If you do, please tag me on social media if you end up posting your project. I'd love to see your work. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out, especially if you've hung out all the way to the end of this video. I really appreciate you. But before we go, I'm going to show you a quick close-up of our project today. Anyways, I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day and week ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye.